Well, a lot has transpired since I filmed last on this project. Obviously got barn chores to do every day. Still have work to do, but been dedicating a lot of time in here working on this. Went ahead and wire wheeled the frame to part way up there underneath the cab. I didn't crawl too far in there because I didn't want to be underneath this thing if something happened and not have an escape route. So didn't venture too far in there. We're just underneath that last cross member there for the cab mount there. Went ahead and made new frame rails the other day. I didn't film a lot of this because, well, it's just time consuming and boring. Me running around with a tape measure, measuring things, checking angles and all sorts of fun stuff. I feel like you probably would have got bored watching that. So I didn't film a lot of that. We went ahead and made all of our holes for our bed mounts. Went ahead and drilled for our hitch to mount in here. This isn't quite finished up here. Need to remount the outside section of that hitch bracket on here. I had to blow it off because the factory frame rail is only 1/8 of an inch thick. This is 1/4 inch thick, so the material thickness is a little bit greater. So this wouldn't quite slide over. Gonna go ahead and weld all that back together. You won't even know I was there when I'm all said and done. But yeah, made new frame rails, drilled all of our holes, did all of our measuring, all that fun stuff, did our cross measurements so we know that everything is trued and squared. I put the hitch back in place so I know my frame rail width is correct. I already double checked and measured everything. Everything's perfect. Used a porta power to spread this just a little bit to squish her over the factory frame rails, just like what the factory does. You can see how this is bulged out here. Maybe hard to see. I don't know. You can see that's slightly thicker there than this distance here. So I just basically copied what the factory did, slid that over there like a shoehorn. We're gonna burn all that in. Went ahead and, like I said, checked everything with our diagonal measurements and checked our degree angles with everything. Everything is pretty near perfect, as best as I'm gonna get it everywhere anyways. So yeah, she's ready to burn in. So we're gonna get the old water fired up here and get going. I'm not gonna do a whole bunch of dilly-dallying. If I could speak today, that would be great. I'm not gonna do a whole bunch of dilly-dallying around here. I'm gonna just go ahead and get fired up, burn this in, and be done with it. And then we've got a bunch more work to do. We need to get our factory cross member in here in place. There's some marks here where the front of that is. There's some marks here where our spring hangers go. I've got everything measured out, squared out. Everything is ready to go. Just a matter of a little bit of cleanup on some parts I blew off with the plasma cutter. Shoehorn them on there, burn them in, and this thing will be good. But the first thing we're probably gonna do, like I said, we're gonna burn this in. We're gonna jump around a little bit here so we're not getting a whole bunch of warping and stuff going on. I'm going to take a scrap piece of something, don't know what yet, some piece of junk I got laying around here. I'm gonna tack weld it on top of here and on top of there to hold these two together so I can remove this hitch so that we can slide that in, because that thing is actually, if you look at it, you can see it's kind of like a C-notch. It goes around the frame perfectly so, and it needs to come straight in from the rear inward. So this thing has to be out of the way, but I don't want to take this off just yet because this is currently holding everything, you know, parallel with one another because, well, it was parallel from factory, so we're doing the same thing here. So I'm gonna quit jibber jabbering, get to work. I don't have much time left. The day's burning out here. It's after 4 o'clock here, so I'm gonna get busy, get some stuff done, and yeah. Won't be too long, the sun will be down, it'll be time to go home. So we're gonna get busy. Looks like you got, yep.
And does this go on the
And
inside?
that goes on the inside. You see that oval thingy at the bottom?
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
It goes through there. I don't think these are the permanent bolts, but for now they're.
It'll hold it for now.
I mean, the bolts are good, but the nut, that little wing deal that's on there is pretty bad shape on mine. I don't know about yours. Need more?
Yeah. A little bit more, I think. Oops.
Oops.
Too much.
I wasn't paying attention.
Where this stops at, so you'll have to tell me. More?
I think it goes there.
You got marks. Mine's probably in the wrong place then, according to yours.
No, leave that part.
Oh, about right. Do you want me to hold it where you put a little spot on there? And then work the other one in place? Or is that a bad idea?
You can.
But I'm on the mark now.
Oh, that ain't gonna be too bad. I thought, boy, that was
Every
pretty
time
good.
you move, yeah, that's not bad.
Triggers are not load your clamp for your workpiece. I did that earlier today. I sucked. Well, we ended the day the other day with getting this axle rolled in place, getting the rear hangers tacked in place, and ended up getting the factory cross member cleaned up and welded back in here. Got everything pretty well situated as far as where the axle needs to be as far as square. That took quite a bit of measuring. I did that all off camera. I did a lot of back and forth on this thing the other day, trying to determine where I was happy with getting the axle centered this way on the frame, as well as forward and backwards, and ensuring that our axle is tracking straight with our front axle so we're not driving down the road dog-legged, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of doing this. So anyways, now we're working on making some leaf spring hangers this morning here. Got a little bit of time before Hey Customer comes in. So the original leaf spring hangers were up here, and they were kind of a sort of an oval shaped piece that would come down. They welded on the top, and side there, and had kind of a little pocket. The little pocket is actually left on this one over here on the other side. I haven't got it cut up and cleaned up yet. Been a little busy working on that side at the moment. But anyways, this is what that pocket looked like. This used to have ears on it that came up to the frame, but they were up front. I've just kind of cannibalized this with a plasma cutter, just trying to get a rough idea of what I want to do. And I've got this side a little more cleaned up and kind of true to how it's going to be. These are actually, that's actually the piece that's the upright of that. That's just tacked in place to hold this up and down so I can use my cardboard here. I've been using, you know, good old cheap cardboard to make me some templates for what exactly I want to do. So kind of a cantankerous thing to get in there, but that's the rear side gusset that's going to get built. I've got the front side I'm starting to mark out back here. Figured I'd stop and film a little bit of this real quick. And this is the front side here. So I can get it on there one-handed. Yeah, we got her. Well, anywho's, it'll look something kind of like so. I mean, it's a little spaced in. It's hard to hold that all out. It'll be plenty far out to where you got access to your bolt. And also, so crap, if you're driving down the road and get some salt and dirt, whatever, it's not going to get trapped in here. It'll all fall through. Now, I will probably put a piece connecting these two just to give it an additional bit of strength. And I'm not going to weld fully down the frame because, again, with welding frames, you do not want a continuous straight line weld on a frame. You could potentially end up with a crack in the future and your frame will fall in half. So we're not going to weld all the way. We'll probably round these corners, come down a little bit, and then same on the bottom. We're not going to burn that in all the way down because I don't want to have to worry about stress fractures here. But yeah, we're going to kind of get some pieces cut out here this morning. Hopefully get around to where, hopefully today, I can get this thing off of the jack and off of jack stands, and it'll be sitting on its own weight. I got a rinky-dink ratchet strap in there, kind of just hold my axle from moving. I mean, I got some blocks in place, but that was just a bit of added assurance to know that she's sucked tight to the blocks that are on the floor. It's not going to go anywhere. But again, before we burn all this in, we will definitely double check our measurements and make sure everything's squared and trued. This got a little bit complicated. It's not as easy as just simply, well, I have a 6-foot bed, I want an 8-foot bed, so that's, 24 inches. Well, you're not adding 24 inches of frame, you're adding 20 inches of frame. That's the difference between a short bed configuration and an 8-foot bed configuration, is there's 20 inches of additional frame added in here. Now I've gone and went clear out the back end with all new steel because it's what I wanted to do. This is heavier gauge material than factory anyways. So this is welded kind of in a C. You've got your upright and your bottom piece down there, and now this side of ground off. But you can see that weld going down through this. There's kind of a C notch behind here, welded in the factory position, as well as the top and bottom. And then I fish plated over top of this thing. I have about 8 foot of weld surface between, well, on this side and on that side. So I have 16 feet of total continuous weld on this joint. I don't think it's going to come apart. If it comes apart, something drastically went wrong, and long story short, the truck is probably totaled and we might not be alive at that point in time. So I think it's fine. I don't think that's going to ever have to worry about coming apart. I got these all burned in. They look pretty decent. Got this all cleaned up. I decided to reuse this thing because I have my spare tire winch that holds a spare tire in there. The rear hitch needs a little bit of modification. I've kind of started doing a little bit of that. See, this is thicker gauge material than what the factory was, so the dimensions are just slightly greater, so it just wouldn't quite fit in there. So had to do a little bit of MacGyver in here. We're going to get that all burned in sometime later, but I'm not prioritizing this right now. I am prioritizing getting this thing back down on the ground. Then we'll worry about all that stuff. I still got to put a shock mount on here. I'm going to reuse the factory shock mount that's over there in that pile of junk. I'm going to put that. It'll probably end up somewhere about right here for that passenger side rear shock. But I'm going to quit chatting here and get to work. Got quite a bit to blow out here, and I've got a hay customer on the way here in about a half hour, so I want to get something done before they get here. So I'm going to get busy. Well, I got some of this done here now. Takes a little time plasma cutting all this stuff and cleaning it all up, making it perfect. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. Going to have a piece going across here probably. Haven't quite decided yet. But I imagine I probably should have something to try to tie this together. None of this is welded. It's just sitting in place right now. This will all need squared and tacked and then pulled off and burn in and then put back on and all that fun stuff. But unfortunately, I think I got to head home now. It's about 5 o'clock now. My wife's got to work this evening in town. So I guess I'm going to go home and watch the kiddos since my 4-door truck that I would use to go pick up my kiddos from the in-laws is, you know, not operable at this current moment in time. They won't pile into a single cab, unfortunately. That's why I really wanted to get this truck done. That's why I've been kind of focusing on it so much. But I got the passenger side sort of started. Haven't burned all this stuff in or even made the other half of this side yet. Just kind of run out of time here, unfortunately. But I'm going to pack up, head out of here, make sure nothing's burning before I head out of here since I had the plasma cutter going. So I guess we're going to have to resume the progress on this project either tomorrow, which is Sunday. I don't know, might not come in here tomorrow. Might spend some time with the wife and kiddos. Don't know yet, but need to get this thing done. But we're making good headway. I mean, about a week and a half-ish into this, starting on this. You know, I rolled in here last Tuesday, took the bed off. That was it for the day. The day was spent. Came in here on Wednesday, went ahead and took the truck out, pressure washed it, blew all the nonsense off because it was a filthy mess. And then late Wednesday evening, it was about 8 o'clock, I chopped this thing in half and kind of cleaned up, went home. Then Thursday was a whole bunch of cleanup. This thing was a mess. I mean, you can see the pile of undercoat, rust shale, metal shavings, you name it, that I've cleaned off of this thing. Plus, you know, I've made a little bit work in here. But yeah, it takes some time getting everything prepped and perfect. And then we obviously had to make new frame rails come and clear out the back end here. So that took some time getting all these measurements, getting everything squared up. Had to cut the factory cross member off the factory frame rails that are outside that are going to Waco. So that took some time. Had to cut off the spring hangers. That took a little bit more time. And then, you know, making my fish plates. And obviously the welding and all the measuring and all that took a lot of time. So just kind of name of the game. When you want to do something right, it's going to take you a long time to do it. I know sometimes with some projects I seem to take a little while to get them done, I guess, by some people's standards. By my standards, I'm doing pretty good. I'm moving right along for being one guy. I mean, I had Dad in here helping me a little bit the other day, so that helped me some. But a lot of this, I'm going to say 98% of the work on this truck has been solely done by myself. So I don't think I'm doing too bad for being a one-guy show in my own shop, on my own farm. Never done this before, never stretched a truck. Now, I've merged frames on the Polar, so this is nothing new to me, but I've not delved down the path of the mega cab long bed stretch. I mean, I've done a lot enough research on it and some pondering and thinking about it for quite a while. Things have kind of developed as we've gone here, changed plans a little bit here and there. So, you know, I wasn't originally planning on going and clear out the back end with new frame rails. So this all takes time. And, you know, if you're going to do it right, like I said, it's going to take you time to do it. But when I'm all said and done with this, I want this to be something that I'm proud of, something that's a bit of a showpiece to not only be functional, but a bit of a showpiece for what my skill sets are, if anybody ever wants to stop and look at it, you know. So just one of them things, you know, there's function and there's fashion, and I try to put a little bit of both into everything. Well, obviously it has to function, but I try to make everything I do look really nice. And I think I've done that so far. You know, I don't have any complaints with it thus far. It's just taking a little time. But I'm going to peace out of here before the wifey calls me and says, hey, you're late. And I'm going to go home, spend some time with the wife and kiddos. Well, the kiddos, because I guess the wife's going to town. And I guess I'm going to start working on editing a video since I haven't got one up in a matter of weeks here. So hopefully you guys can catch the video here the end of this week or beginning of this week. Who knows? We'll see where it pans out. But I'd like to thank you guys for watching. God bless. And I'll see you on the next one.